Hi, thanks for joining me. Today I want to share with you part of the Christmas card series. So I'm going to expand it a little bit and include some rocks because I think this will be a really fun project for kids to do. And it gets them really involved in the declaration process, decorating the home or the area. Also in the spirit of gift giving, that's normally what we do at Christmas time, is we enjoy the lovely spirit of giving. With this, they can create, only takes a couple of moments, so they can create a nice little rock art to give away. What you'll need is a rock. So with this one, we're going to do a wreath, and all we need will be some green paint. You can use any other color that you want, especially if you have some type of glitter glue. You can put it on here, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to place the green down, and no need to color the background. Some people will want to color the entire rock. You can, if you want to make this whole rock the wreath, you can do it like that and then do a smaller one on there. Or you can take a rock similar to this and paint a wreath somewhere in it. And that gives you some room to do add-ons. I like to call them add-ons. That's really just sprucing it up, making it 3D. You can use a red string or a piece of ribbon. And if you use ribbon on any of the card type projects that you do, you want to use the ribbon that's made out of, I don't think it's paper, it's like a type of paper plastic. It comes on a spool, and if you don't have a spool, you can just grab one of these bows. But this is the type material. You don't want the ones that are made out of fabric because they don't hold well when you glue them down with regular glue. They will hold if you glue them down with glue sticks, but this is a kid-safe project, and we're going to use items that don't require the heat. And if you want to glue something on to one of these, you just use this regular glue. And I recommend using regular glue, not the glue sticks, even when you're doing the cards, because the glue stick does not tend to stick as long as the other glue. Now you can use some, you need a brush with this project, the paints, which will be green and red, and a small brush. And you can use a small amount of water if you need to, but I'm just going to wipe this off. Now what I have here, I don't like the paints that come in these particular things that you purchase from the store. It is a tempera type paint, and they do it that way because it's non-toxic and it's safe for children. But the acrylic paints do not have all of that toxic stuff in them either, and these have a better covering, so they're more opaque than the other ones. I find I got frustrated, and you don't want the children to be frustrated either, so it's best to go with an acrylic paint, not the tempera, when you're trying to do these projects. Now what I did was I purchased the tempera, poured it out, and added some paints to these. What I'm going to do is a wreath, and it's going to be round. With this, I think, I'm not going to go over the whole thing. I'm only going to go in here, and notice I'm just doing a wiggle. To get it down, sort of the round shape. Because that's what it would look like. It won't look like a perfect circle. And the reason I'm piling the paint on is so that it looks like it's sticking off the rock. It'll give it a type of a 3D effect. So I think that's a nice wreath. Sort of looks like a heart right there, so I'm going to add some stuff to it. Now notice this is wet. This will be a wet on wet project. And I'm just wiping my brush off on the side here. Closing that up, and what I'm going to do is go to a paper towel and just wipe that paint off. Squeeze the bristles. Don't pull them, just squeeze them to get the paint off. Don't pull the bristles on your brush. It will pull your bristles out and ruin the brush. Now the only other thing I have to do is come back with some red, or if you have some gold paint or yellow paint, or you can mix these up if you like. You can put whatever colors on here that you like. And I'm going to, this is a lot of paint, and the reason I just dip it in the paint and come straight out is because I need it to be runny wet. Tap it one time. You see how nice that looks? If you tap too hard and you get green paint on here, just wipe it off. And what I'm trying to do is zigzag almost on this, so they're not all placed nice and neatly in a row around there, because you want to stagger them. I'm going to wipe that off. That was red. I'm going to wipe that off and squeeze my bristles of my brush. Sometimes you don't need water. And now I'm going to come back with some yellow because I don't have any gold paint right here. I had some gold glitter paint. You can use gold glitter paint. You can use gold paint. But I'm going to do it like this just in case you may not have. There. And that will take the place of gold. That one got a little too much on there, but it's okay. And now if you have ribbon, you can put it on there so that it will, you can stick it on there in that. Those red ornaments are not as bright as the other one, which is fine. I think I'm going to put a red ribbon on that. So this needs to dry. You can set it aside and let it dry, or you can use a blow dryer on it. I'm going to use a blow dryer on it, so I'll come right back and finish this off. Alright, that's sort of dry. It's not all the way dry, but it's dry enough. And what I want to do now is add some texture to this. We can just go ahead and paint it on, or we can add some texture to it, and that's what I'm going to do. And for texture, instead of going out and grabbing some texture medium, I'm just going to use a little glue. So that's what I have here. I have a little glue on there. I'm going to use the paintbrush. Now if you don't have an old ratty paintbrush and you use your good paintbrush, you will need to wash this off as soon as you finish applying the glue. You don't want the glue to dry on your paintbrush. It will ruin it. So here we go. I'm going to add some on here, and it's just a little loop-de-loop kind of thing. And I'm trying to see where I'm going to add it. You know, I'm really looking at this wondering. I'm not going to do the traditional one. So let's see. I'm going to make it look like I just got a big bow on it. And I'm just going to, that's the area I said I was going to paint on. So I'm going to cover this. I didn't even need to do that, but that's okay. I'm going to cover this, adding my glue to it. I don't want to completely cover. I'm going to cover one of these. And you can easily get carried away, as I'm getting carried away right now. So that's where I want it. That's my bow. And then I want that ribbon to come down. That's where I want it. Now I'm wiping off that glue. I I gotta wash that out. So now I'm going to just put some sawdust on it. I don't want to put smush it down in it because I want it to stay right where I put it at. If I smush this down, the rock down in the sawdust itself, it'll smush it in places I don't want it. It's already spread out enough, so I don't really want it spread out anymore. That's it. And I'm going to flip it over, tap the back. You got to hold this really steady. Oh, blow it off outside. I just blew it off to the side and it's floating around like dust. So now this needs to dry. It doesn't look so great right now, but it's a raised surface right there. It's really raised where I put the sawdust at, and that's going to need to dry. So let me move this out the way, and I'll get the blow dryer and show you how I do that. With the blow dryer, you want to make sure that you're not blowing right at the object with high heat or high air, because it'll distort it. So I'm going to turn it on low, and I'm going to use circular motion. I'm going all around the rock. And the rock remains on the surface because some of these rocks will get really hot and you don't want to burn your hand. So I'm going to go ahead and finish drying this off, and then I'll come back and we'll paint it. I'm going to use a really light hand anyway, so let's paint red on it because I'm a little traditional. My colors for Christmas are red and green. Now I'm going to place this on there similar to what I did before, but I'm going to pat it. I'm not stroking it so much. This is I want to make sure the surface stays there with the texture that we created. So I have enough that I can stroke it along. Otherwise, just pat it. And that'll give you a raised effect for the ribbon. You got to make sure you're putting enough paint on it. And the reason you tap it is because when you tap it, a lot of times that keeps the paint in that spot and you're not smearing it. If you drag it like you're painting normally, it will a lot of times move the stuff that you have there. I kind of like that yellow right there, so I'm going to kind of do that. And this, you can be really generous with the paint, not where it's running down. You don't want it to run down now. But what you're creating up here is a bow. And the bow goes outward in all different directions. Just tapping, tapping, tapping. That way you have some texture. And you want to squeeze that paint off of your brush. There it is. Now if you want the bow to go some more, you can, but I think that bow is big enough for that wreath. That wreath is not that big. Most of my red bulbs on here have been covered up. The red bow is really strong on there, so I'm going to come back with a dot here and a dot over here where I had that red ornament before. And place a dot there. that's it. Oh! And it still has a lot of texture on it, so all I have to do is put the paint back on it. So that's not what you want to do. So my recommendation is, you see how it smushed the bow out here? My recommendation is to leave it on the surface until it dries. Don't do like I did. So I'm going to have to go ahead and make the bow a little bigger here and there because it's smushed right there. And I use the Bob Ross School of Thought, Happy Accidents. Sometimes that's how we get our best paintings. And I'm not going to pick it up this time. We're going to leave it like that. And that's the Christmas wreath. And this you can sit on the mantle, sit near the tree, and you can also do this on a much larger size rock. And you can give those away by painting other items on it, or you can make it a Christmas rock and you can put the year on there. That would be really nice. It's just like making ornaments that you hang on the tree. You go ahead and date it with the year, and then each year after Christmas you pack it up, wrap it with some tissue paper and some other paper to keep it nice and safe, and bring it out next year for Christmas. All right, here is the wreath. That's the top of it, going down. It took up more room on the rock than I intended, and that's because when I looked at it again, I had to add more paint all around here. Because I dropped it and it smushed the ribbon outward, I had to add more paint so that you can really see the wreath now. Okay. Hope this is a fun project for you.